Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got it!
Another one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and
He hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, of course, coming to you from high atop the 18th fairway here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. As always, appreciate you joining us. It's great to be here. As always, myself, along with my co-host, Dustin Schutte. Of course, brought to you by our good friends at Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington. Just look up AndyMooreHonda.com. You can always get the greatest deals on new and used vehicles, and Endeavor Hospitality and their WOW Club. Just go to your Apple app or Google App Store, sign up, start earning WOW rewards today to great places like BB's Market, which we are each and every Friday. So you can join us there. A great weekend of sports. IU football was off. Maybe that made it even better. No, not trying to be negative, but you know, we don't have to worry about dealing with that. The Colts, there are good news and bad news for the Colts. College football, we had some big games with Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan State, a little fracas there to talk about. College basketball, of course, the Hoosiers get things underway on Saturday in an exciting way. Louisville, boy, they got problems. So we got plenty to get to. Don Fischer on the program today. Dustin Dopirak will join us as well. So, as always, it's a big day. It's Monday. So how is everybody? We appreciate you joining us, hitting us up on the Andy Moore Honda hotline. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Basketball season officially underway. NBA's been in a couple weeks now, and then the Hoosiers getting underway on Saturday. Good to see a couple guys get a double-double. Promising start in the exhibition season. And what an exciting weekend of college football. I mean, you had the fight at Michigan State. You had Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin calling out Jimbo Fischer. You set up a Georgia-Tennessee 1-2 game for next weekend. Man, it was an awesome weekend. I
missed the Jimbo Fischer Lane Kiffin fracas.
Well,
please do tell.
So if you remember the Jimbo Fischer Nick Saban spat back in February about Nick Saban saying Texas A&M bought all of their 5-star recruits, and then Jimbo Fischer holding that press conference saying basically, go look at Coach Saban's profile. He and his clowns are commenting about this. One of the clowns, quote unquote, he was referring to was Lane Kiffin. And after the game, SEC Network's Cole Kubelek asked Lane Kiffin if he has any Halloween costumes. And he goes, well, maybe Jimbo has a Joker costume waiting for me.
So
that was
funny. Yeah, he's pretty good at holding. You know what I was thinking? Is he the next Alabama coach?
He might be. He really might be. That's he's got kind of that personality that they all love.
Well, he wins.
And he wins, yes.
And he's funny. He is funny. And if he was in a position like that, well, man, now you can really be funny and not much fallout. But Jimbo Fischer, he should wear the Joker costume, man.
Yeah.
Bad year for it's unbelievable.
I think they're now 3-5, and this is with the greatest recruiting class in the history of college football and an $86 million buyout. I mean, this dude is stealing money.
Hey, they gave it to him, man.
I know.
They gave it to him, and it's that's just so funny how sports contracts kill me because they are not performance based.
Right.
They just aren't performance based. In every other walk of life, you get rewarded, boom, rewarded. But no, like these guys, you get rewarded, and then, maybe you work into it.
Right.
Maybe you achieve it. Maybe you don't.
Well, this goes to the fact that this also points to the fact that look at what Mel Tucker, he cashed in on one good season. Michigan State is also 3-5, playing really bad football. James Franklin. Now, Penn State's a little bit different. He at least won a Big Ten championship. He's had a couple 11-win seasons with them. He's played some really good team stuff, but like they're 6-2. He got a massive contract deal. We'll see. Maybe if they end up 10-2, I think that's about where Penn State should be. But man, specifically Mel Tucker, he's had basically one good season in his 4 years as a head coach. And he,
I will say this: the deal that they gave him was just astronomically stupid.
Yes,
astronomically stupid. How in the hell do you go because of one season of transfer portal greatness? Do you go from what's even normal in college football, which is kind of stupid, to like mega stupid, like $9.5 million a year stupid?
Right.
Why? I asked myself then, I'm like, why? What in the hell? And I didn't know the answer to that question then, and I don't know now. I mean, I didn't understand it then, and I don't understand it now. At least, I mean, you look at Indiana, who kind of did the same thing with Tom Allen. They think that these guys are going to get sucked up by somebody else,
right?
And so they write these ridiculous contracts that just give them these golden parachutes.
Well, I think
and they're wrong most of the time.
Right. Yeah. I would say they're wrong more than they're right. And I think what happened was, I'm sure Mel Tucker and his agent, at the time the LSU job was open and there was a lot of rumored interest. So I'm sure they turned that into a mega payday. But I mean, good. See, here's the difference with Tom Allen and the rest of this. First of all, his contract is not astronomical. Second, he at least, when he got that extension, 5-7, 5-7, 8-5, 6-1, and on the cusp of a Big Ten championship, there was at least a sample size of 4 years, plus the year before his defense was really good when Kevin Wilson was the head coach. So at least there were some signs that the program was heading in the right direction. Now, since then, it's obviously not gone well, but you can at least understand that extension and that payday a little bit more. Like I said, Mel Tucker, it was one season, and you were kind of scratching your head, but at the same time, you thought maybe in this new era of college football where the transfer portal is going to become king, NIL, maybe it's worth it to pay him that much money to stick around East Lansing. But whew, it is. Not only have they gotten beaten 5 times this season, most of those losses have been really ugly.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. No, maybe the one was 0. That's not right. I'm trying to figure out. The Big 12 just reached a new media rights deal with ESPN at $2.2 million, billion, which is $2 billion, and then $200 million. Correct?
Yep.
There we go. I got it. So, and I'm going to divide that by 6, which is $366 million per year. Is that right?
Is this per school? Is that the payout per school?
Well, no, I'm just dividing it per year.
Oh, per year.
Yeah. So $366 million a year. Does that sound right?
Yeah, probably. I'm really bad at math.
Well, the reason my point I bring up is the Big 12 has just signed a new media rights deal with Fox and ESPN. It's worth $2.2 billion over 6 years. For comparative sake, the Big 10 has a 7-year deal worth $7 billion.
It's quite a
$1 billion per year. So it's 3 times as big as the Big 12s. That's the point that I make on money for these conferences. The Big 10 makes 3 times the money these other places are making.
Yeah.
So while Indiana will pull in $100 million per year, a school in the Big 12 will pull in $30 million. Big difference, folks.
Yes. And so there's your answer as to why these contracts are so ridiculous, particularly in the Big 10 and the SEC.
Yeah, but they're obviously worth it to them.
That's what I'm saying.
Money back.
Right.
That's all for people of us watching cable, TV, all of that good stuff. So, but that gives the Big 12, at least it gives them some security.
I was going to say, it gives them some stability. And look, the product is not going to be
because they lost Oklahoma and Texas. Don't forget.
And then they bring in UCF, Cincinnati, Houston, and I can't remember who the 4th team is off the top of my head. But
Cincinnati is a good ad. Did they end up winning over the weekend? By the way,
no, UCF beat Cincinnati.
Haven't got a daggone it. They were the last couple of weeks. Cincinnati has been on the verge of going down.
Yeah, they were playing with fire. I don't even think the game was particularly close, to be quite honest.
Well, it was for the longest time, at least.
Oh, was it?
Watching.
Oh, it was okay. It was 25-21. I must have thought about something else. So it was a close game.
Let's check out these scores from over the weekend. Oh, that's coming up. Damn it. I hate when they do that. Let's talk now in the here and now, baby.
How about Kansas State? 48-0 over number 9 Oklahoma State with a backup quarterback.
Yeah. What did was it Martinez? Was he playing for?
He is on Kansas State, but he was out with injury, so he didn't play at all.
But was Oklahoma State missing their quarterback?
I think they were. I actually missed this game. Sanders went out, I think, at some point. He did play. He was 13 of 26, 147 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. I think he played. I don't know if he left the game at some point, but it was inexplicable how badly they lost.
Let's see. Ed wants to know, says, "Hey Jim, what about Louisville losing their exhibition game to a no?" Oh yeah, don't worry, we're going to talk about that. Lenore Rhine, a D2 team out of North Carolina. The truth is with us, hitting us up already on the Andy Moore Honda hotline. Big Dave B, what's up, man? From New Albany area. How are you doing, brother? He says, good morning. Newsworthy note, Romeo Langford started for the Spurs last night and held Anthony Edwards scoreless in the first half, locked him down late in the fourth quarter to help the Spurs win. Well, that's great news, David. Thank you, because I'd wondered, Romeo was one of those guys that was potential on, he's going to have to earn a spot on that Spurs roster. And, well, if you're starting, you probably earned a spot. And especially if you're playing like David just said, defense, baby. Defense will keep you in a position. If you're lacking a little bit offensively, but if you can play lockdown defense, they got a spot for you.
Yep.
Thanks, David B, for that information, man. And appreciate, glad to see you listening. Hope everybody's doing well down in Southern Indiana. Larry says BYU is the other team you're looking forward to. There you go, for the Big 12.
BYU. Okay. Yep.
Another solid team that's been around. In football, Louisville killed Wake Forest. How about that? And there's a big upset. The truth says, time all about IU basketball team now. Nah, I try not to go there. Phillips says the Wake Forest horrible quarter, five turnovers. Wow. Yep. I did see someone mention we got to take a break. So let's get to that. Hit up because we got the great Don Fischer with us next here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Brought to you by our good friends from great places like BB's and the Wow Club. Go team. Make sure you go there, sign up to your Apple app or Google App Store. Start earning Wow rewards today. Back with the great Don Fischer right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting. Good morning, Don.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Good. How'd you enjoy the football game this weekend?
I enjoyed it immensely.
Yes, it was a good one. It was happy to see. That's what I have Matt Taylor on Thursdays. I'm like, well, good news and bad news. The good news is we don't have to talk about IU football. And the good news is Sam Erlinger is looking good for the Colts.
Yeah, well, they still lost.
Yeah, they did, boy.
I'll tell you what, I was mad as a hornet. I mean, I don't know why I get upset about the Colts, but I do. I did their preseason games for 23 years. So I kind of became a Colt fan, and I'm sitting there yesterday, and I'm just getting angrier and angrier as the day wore on because I just had a feeling it was going to go down the tubes. And, of course, I started yelling a couple times. My wife goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Hey, it just feels like, I can root a little bit in a game like this. Rather than just being, objective and all that kind of stuff." And
it is amazing. It is actually fun to get to do that sometimes.
Yeah. I don't do it I have never gone to a game and in person and sat and watched and booed, and I've cheered, all that kind of stuff because, you go to games where your grandkids are playing and stuff like that. But I'm never one of those people that sits in the stands and tries to second guess everything like a lot of our fan base does. My wife tells me that if I sat in the stand for any IU football game, that I would be in a fist fight in 2 minutes. So at any rate, that's why I'm glad I'm broadcasting in a press box and not down there with a fan base that's going nuts on everything that happens.
I hear that.
I'm just making sure that I've got the right email address. You got my bill. Did you not?
Buddy, it's coming. It's been sitting here for 2 weeks, and I'm like, the first week I forgot to bring it to the show. Then last week there wasn't a show. Then I'm like, damn it, I'm bringing that tonight.
No, that's good. That's awesome. I appreciate it.
Sitting there.
Full episodes of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on the homepage or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. Happy Halloween. Almost forgot to mention that today. Indiana Sports Beat Radio, of course, brought to you by our good friend Southern Stone Restaurant, where tonight at 7:05 you can find Don Fischer and Coach Mike Woodson for Inside Indiana Men's Basketball. And then this Wednesday, you can find Don again with Tom Allen for Inside Indiana Football. So it's a busy week for Don tonight and Wednesday, and a fun weekend. At least you had off for football. But in the break, we were talking about getting to watch some games. The Colts playing yesterday, Sam Erlinger playing well, and I was the same way as we talked in the break. I was like, God dang it. They had a game. They had it won, a game that they really needed to win. And Sam Erlinger, he did enough to put them in position to win. And yet they give up that stinking last touchdown to lose the game to an Indianapolis guy, of course, Indianapolis Cathedral. But it was, yeah. And I, from a fan standpoint, I don't get jacked up at games or anything. It's rare that I get to cheer or anything. The last time I got to be like that was when my daughter was playing basketball, and it drove my ex-wife nuts. She hated me going. That's the only time we were talking in the break about getting to relax and watch a game, Don, because you spend so much time covering them from a professional standpoint where you just have to be locked in. And it's actually a natural thing to be that way. Right. But it's nice to be able to get outside of that.
Well, it is. There's no question. Like I told you guys earlier, I did the Colts preseason games on television for 23 years, up until about 6 years ago, whatever it was. Anyway, I became a Colts fan. So I was interested to see how yesterday was going to play out. I didn't get a chance to see the first part of the game because I went to a granddaughter's soccer game and then got home and watched probably the last quarter of the ball game. And my Tourette's kicked in as usual when I'm watching something that upsets me. And obviously I was really ticked off at the end of the game because I wanted them to win so badly. And I got pretty exercised in the living room with my wife sitting there she goes, "What is wrong with you?" So at any rate, yeah, it was upsetting to say the least. I thought they were going to win the game. I thought they had it in their hands. And they give up that long pass to McLaurin, who was an Indianapolis kid from Cathedral High School, who went to Ohio State. So I didn't have any love for him either. But at any rate, we end up, the Colts end up getting beat. And I walked out of the room just as I literally walked out to my office down here in the basement, down in the dungeon where I'm located most of the time. And obviously it was upsetting to say the least, but I agree. I think Sam did a really nice job at the quarterback spot with the exception of the fumble that he had. And let's face it, a guy like him at this point in his career, just getting his first opportunity to be a starter, playing at the NFL level like it is, I thought he played really well in many respects. And of course, the one thing that we haven't had a quarterback able to do here of late is run with a football and help his team with his legs. And I think this kid can do that. So hopefully it all plays out and it'll be getting much more positive here in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I'm sure Matt Taylor will be looking forward to talking about that on Thursday. Over the weekend, Indiana basketball, while Indiana football was off with the bye, Indiana basketball not exactly kicking off their season, but an exhibition of sorts. So they are kicking it off and looked pretty good. We didn't know what to expect from a lot of different places. You get the start with Malik Renault in place of an injured Trace Jackson Davis. And man, did he deliver a double-double in his first start. And I think that may have opened up some eyes for a lot of fans who probably have not seen Malik Renault play because of it coming from down in Montverde. But man, oh man, not much drop off from this quote unquote second unit, if you want to call it that.
Well, he of course started the game in place of Trace Jackson Davis, who was out with a hand injury, and they're being cautious with it. It's not a serious long-term type thing, so there's nothing concerning in that regard right now for Trace. But to start in that position, to go 7 of 10 and score 14 points and pull down 11 rebounds, that's pretty impressive for a freshman to come in and do that. And Jalen Hood-Schifino was the highest-ranked incoming recruit in the Big Ten. He was just as impressive with his performance in this ball game. He had 11 points, 5 of 8 shooting, 4 assists in the ball game. Just looks as calm and cool out there as you can imagine for a freshman. And, he looks like he's a veteran already. So there were some really positive things out of this game. And then we got to talk about Logan Duncombe, who was almost probably nobody knew who he was because last year he hardly got any playing time. In fact, my wife goes, "Who was that kid?" I said, "Who's the guy with the mullet out there?" And I said, "Well, that's a kid from Cincinnati who was a freshman last year and didn't get much of an opportunity." but he comes in and gets 11 points and 11 rebounds and looked terrific doing it. Now, again, it's against an NAIA school, but a very good one at that. I mean, Marion is a really talented team in their level of play. Scott Hetty does a tremendous job of coaching these kids, and their program is one of the best in the NAIA circles. They've made the NAIA tournament the last 5 straight years. They'll make it again this year based on what we saw against Indiana. So at any rate, it was just a good first outing for this basketball team, a great opportunity to see guys play for the first time together with this group and play somebody else. Now the coaches have film to talk about, hey, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, to give them a little crap in regard to how they performed out there. But in truth, for a first exhibition ball game, I thought this team really played well.
And on that note, Don, I thought that the shooting, which has been a topic of conversation now for a couple seasons, typically in those first games, the shooting can be a little bit off. You're just getting your legs underneath of you. You're playing a new opponent for the first time, even if it is an NAIA team. Race Thompson, 3 of 4 from the three-point line. CJ Gunn comes in 2 of 3. They shoot, I think, 42 or 43%, 52% from the floor. I mean, one game sample size, obviously too early to tell, but I think in your first game to shoot over 50% from the floor, over 40% from three-point range, and the guys who were connecting on those shots,
right,
to me, gives you a lot of optimism heading into the regular season that maybe this team has fixed some of those shooting concerns.
Well, you hope so. There's no question against the competition that they're playing against. It doesn't give you a real strong feeling that that's how it's going to be all year long, but you see improvement there. And there's no question last year in games against outside competition, we wouldn't see something like that. I mean, the one game that we did last year, the Syracuse ball game where Miller Kopp went off for 28 points and Parker Stewart had 20, we didn't see that kind of shooting the rest of the year. So honestly, to see it in the first game against whoever it's against is a plus. And Xavier Johnson, who's been lighting it up in practices throughout the summer and through the fall practice sessions, he had a poor shooting ball game. I think he was just 2 of 11?
11, yeah.
Yeah. So he didn't shoot it well at all. And Miller Kopp only took 1 3. So hopefully that changes too, because I think that guy has to be able to put up at least 5 or 6 3-point shots in a ball game and hopefully knock down 3 or 4 of them.
And I think it's good to see, though, that he didn't force things, Don. The fact that he did only do that, and so learning how to work within the offense, just looking at the numbers, I'm like, yeah, but he's the guy that you expect to be the one taking those shots. But he seemingly relaxed. But that was the thing that struck me about this team, is they all looked so relaxed with each other. They looked comfortable with each other. Obviously, there's a comfortability with Malik Renaud and Jalen Hood-Schifino, but they all looked comfortable playing together. It looked very smooth.
Let me correct one thing you're doing here, and I did it myself until I saw the pronunciation. It's Renew.
Renew, that's right.
Renew.
I heard. It might have been you. I heard say it too, and I'm like, daggone it! I got to keep it's Renew, not Renaud.
Yeah, it's Renew, and I said Renaud probably up until like a week ago. Of course, I wasn't on the air doing it, but nevertheless, I looked at the pronunciation guide, and it's Renew.
I heard someone say that, actually. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. So it's Malik Renew. And like I said, you're right. The chemistry that this team showed in this first matchup was really interesting. These kids seem to get along with one another, like one another. And here's the other thing that I thought was a huge positive, and perhaps it's the competition that they played. But let's face it, when you hold a team to 25% shooting, that indicates a pretty strong effort at the defensive end of the floor. And we know that Mike Woodson, that's the first emphasis he has going into practice each year, is you've got to be good at the defensive end if you want to play on our basketball team. And that defense showed up in a big way in this first matchup with Marion. And again, the sample size is not very good at this point and is not going to be for a while yet. But to play that tough defensively in your first matchup, whoever you're playing against, I think that's hugely important.
And to that point, did they grab 50 rebounds? It was close. I don't know what the final tally was.
They had 48.
48. So they were close. And that's not obviously a huge stat at this juncture in the season, but I think what that speaks to is that these kids were ready to get out there and play. They were playing hard, because rebounding is a lot of times it's just effort, especially in this type of game. So to go out there and maybe it's kind of a ho-hum stat in this type of ball game, but at the same time, when you out rebound your opponent by that much and you're approaching 50 boards and playing defense as well as you said, Don, to me, that shows that this team was hungry to get back on the basketball court. They were putting forth effort, knowing it's an exhibition game. They're setting the tone to head into this season. So, again, you don't know from a one-game sample size, but I think there's a lot of reason for optimism based on what you saw.
Right. There's no question. I mean, that to me is what's important. There should be optimism about this basketball team. And it looks like a team that has the pieces. It's got all the pieces that they need to be a major factor this year in a run for a Big Ten title and perhaps a big run in the NCAA tournament. But again, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We just want to sit here and enjoy the moment and think that we've got a team that could be special. And that's very possible.
CJ Gunn is a kid that I've talked about a lot in the offseason, because I watched him in high school, watched him do things. And I'm like, all right, I don't know if that will translate to college, but he is not afraid to take a shot. And he hit 2 of 3 from deep yesterday. And that is a great positive sign, because he's a freshman. He's not a kid that you're going to expect to stand out, get out there and do a lot, but he did. And his confidence is as high as I think it was maybe not in high school, but he feels good. And I think all these guys have a very confident game.
Yeah, I think that's right. Caleb Banks was the only freshman we didn't see get a lot of playing time in this ball game, and he was 0 for 3 when he did get in there. He saw less than 10 minutes of playing time, but he is a terrific athlete and a guy that is still learning the system, still trying to understand what his responsibilities and his role will be in this basketball team. I think he'll come along as well. And the other thing is, the Trey Galloways in this ball club and the Jordan Geronimos, the guys that have been around a while, they're going to help this team immensely. The second unit on this basketball team, when we assume that Renew will be in that grouping, is maybe exactly what Mike Woodson's been hoping to have at the college level, like you had in the NBA, like able to put in 4 or 5 guys, totally different. And maybe play cohesively and be able to take this team to the next level, so to speak. Because last year when he did that, when he put in 3 or 4 guys at a time, it seemed everything kind of stepped back, and it wasn't nearly as good as you had hoped it would be. I think the talent level now with these other guys and the experience level that these other guys have coming off the bench is really going to help this second unit be something special.
Not only with the second unit, but I think one of the things Mike Woodson talked about in the offseason, and I think it was at Indiana's media day specifically, was, if I put you in 3 or 4 minutes, you better be ready to play, because if we get in a situation later down the road and you didn't perform or you weren't ready to go, you may not get back in. I think that you see this team taking that to heart. Those aren't just words. They've got enough depth where you might have a guy like, I'm just going to use him as an example, Trey Galloway. One game might play 12 to 15 minutes. Another game he might play 3 to 4. But I think what we saw over the weekend was those guys are taking advantage of the minutes. They're getting the opportunity to show what they can do because they want to build that trust with Mike Woodson. I just think there's a lot of, you guys, Jim and Don, you both talked about the cohesiveness. They look like they're playing well together. I think they've had some healthy competition throughout the off season. And I think that's just built them. They all have a main goal, right? And that's to be at the top of the Big Ten. And I just think that what Mike Woodson has instilled in this team has changed their attitude for the better.
Well, there's no doubt. This is year 2. I mean, Mike now he's got his system in place. The guys that are back, and there's a bunch of them, all know that system. It's just going to be more cohesive, and it's going to be easier for these guys for the young guys to incorporate themselves with this ball club because they've got all these older guys telling them exactly what Mike wants, that type of thing. It's for the entire coaching staff and for the team itself. It's just going to be a better feel to it this year in the sense of the experience level and what is expected of them all.
Well, we'll get another chance to see that, Don, this Thursday as Indiana takes on St. Francis at 7 p.m. And, of course, a little side note there, that is who Damon Bailey's son plays for. So another connection. Marion, of course, the AD was Steve Downing, and they honored the 72 team at the halftime the other night. So another IU connection for that. But this is an unbelievable and maybe one of the busiest weeks for you, definitely in this season. You've already done the game this past Saturday. Tonight at 7:05, like I said, at Southern Stone Restaurant, you can find Don along with Coach Mike Woodson for Inside Indiana Men's Basketball. Then on Wednesday at 7:05, back at Southern Stone, you can find him along with Tom Allen for Inside Indiana Football. Thursday, you've got the basketball game at 7 p.m. And then Saturday, Indiana hosts Penn State for football. So a little bit of a busy week for you, Don.
No question. From Monday to Monday, we've got nonstop stuff going on here. We got next Monday too, with the official start of the Indiana basketball season. So it isn't going to let up until the end of November, kids.
Get up and get some rest, brother. We appreciate you.
Go ahead, Dustin.
I was going to say, Don, it's Halloween. Give us your favorite Halloween candy.
I'm a Snickers guy. I've always been a Snickers guy. On the plane rides, we used to get Snickers in our little baggies that they gave you with treats in them and stuff like that. All these guys would flip their Snickers to me. I was in heaven.
Happy Halloween, Don.
Hey, I think my wife has decided that she probably didn't buy Snickers for tonight, except that I will be gone, so I won't be a part of it until I get home. And, of course, if there are any left, I'll eat them all.
And if you're going to Inside Indiana Men's Basketball, you know what to bring Don. There you go.
Thanks, guys.
Don Fischer, thank you so much. Don Fischer, the voice of the Indiana Hoosiers, joining us as he does here each Monday. Up next, Dustin Dopirak from the Bloomington Herald-Times. We're back with him right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Golfers, here's the deal.
Mr. Schutte.
Mr. Dopirak.
Mr. Alden. How are you guys?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Favorite Halloween candy?
It's a good question. I feel like I've evolved on this over time.
Mine evolves every year. Every year I'm into something different.
Like in terms of stuff I will definitely eat when it's left over. Starburst is always ranked high for me.
Oh, yeah.
If you manage to swing that, that's a big deal. I mean, like you can't always bank on it.
Right.
Reese's is like I think my favorite standard that like you're guaranteed.
Right. Right.
You know, but Starburst, Skittles, I'm a fan of. I mean, I generally don't complain. Like I don't see like a huge amount of difference between like Snickers, you know, Reese's, Three Musketeers. Nothing wrong with any single one of those.
Give me all the Crunch bars. That's what I'm into.
Oh God,
for whatever reason.
I mean, I'm never just any kind of chocolate bar. I'm not going to complain about. You know, bottom line. I mean, with the exception, and like I don't even know if this counts, but like. You know, and I don't even know if they give this out anymore, but like when I was a kid, at least you would run into Almond Joy and stuff like that every once in a while. You're like,
oh yeah, I like Almond Joys, and they have mounds too.
I was opposed. I was like, what are you doing?
Not...
Like you're trying way too hard. Like don't be creative about this. There's no need. Like
no, I agree. I don't like those either.
Don't try to be slick. Just give me the Snickers. Don't think too hard. Milky Way, same deal. Like all that is fine. The standards are all fine. Don't get out of the pocket. You know, like it's sort of my.
And as I've gotten older, I feel like my candy choice has gotten simpler. Like my favorite candy now is chocolate covered peanuts. That's like
love those or chocolate covered almonds.
Yeah.
I used to be all about the Milky Way, Snickers, and I still will, but just give me a bag of chocolate covered peanuts. Oh
yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, and I won't search it out the rest of the year, but like when it shows up at Halloween, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Depending on, like whatever's left over.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
20 seconds, Jim.
Yeah.
If you're nearby, hopefully.
Pilots, see dealer for financing deals. Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Oh, happy Halloween, everybody. And no, I am not wearing a mask. That is just me. Welcome aboard our friend Dustin Dopirak from the Bloomington Herald Times. How are you, sir?
Doing well, Jim. Doing well, Dustin. How about yourselves?
I can't complain. Dustin's tired of listening to it. Good weekend of sports, fun weekend. Just got off of Don, of course. Don Fischer, the Colts. Although they lost, I think they found something in a quarterback. They need to find something in a defense. It looks like they could not hold them out of the end zone there at the end, but basketball, college basketball, we got a little start in that, a little taste of it. College football, some fun stuff over the weekend. I know you're probably not a NASCAR fan.
No.
But I saw yesterday, someone mentioned it. This was possibly the greatest finish for a non-winner in the history of NASCAR.
It was.
Ross Chastain and Denny Hamlin were fighting point-wise for the fourth spot to make it into the championship round of the NASCAR playoffs. And on the last lap, they're on this at Martinsville, which is, I think, is it a 1 mile track? I think
it's a short track.
It's like a paper clip as well. But so on the last lap, Ross Chastain is behind on points behind Denny Hamlin because he's trailing him by so many spots. And the track was small enough that they were not using fifth gear all day on this track because they couldn't get up to speed fast enough. On the last lap, he comes out of turn 2 into the backstretch and just puts it into fifth gear, and he gets to turn 3 and just puts it into the wall on purpose and rides the wall around at supersonic speed almost because it looked fake. It looked like a video game because he comes flying past these guys because, you couldn't take that speed normally because you couldn't hold it, but the wall was already holding him in. He's passing guys left and right and passes Denny Hamlin at the start-finish line and knocks him out of the playoffs.
Jeez.
And beats him in there. It was just hilarious.
That is absurd.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about NASCAR. And that is, I feel like you can't ride a wall that long. That seems like it should bust your car up.
If this had been an old car, the cars of yesterday, that they have this next gen car now, which the bodies are different, that probably might have been the case. But the funniest thing is, he says, where did you even think to use this, to know this? He goes, well, I used to do it he did it on video game.
Yep.
That makes sense.
He would do it on his video game on that track all the time, and it worked. He goes, I just thought I'd try it. And it did.
Anyone who hasn't seen it,
ripped up the right side door, you're in huge trouble. Also, Max,
it was great. It's just hilarious.
Wow.
Yeah, if you watch it in full-time speed, it's crazy because these cars are they're going, and all of a sudden this guy comes, wow! It's like a comedy movie.
That's nuts.
But
totally absurd.
So there's that. A fun sports weekend, of course. Now, Michigan having a little fracas. 4 players suspended from them. Unfortunately, Indiana's not playing Michigan State this week, which would have been helpful. They're playing Penn State instead. So there's that.
Penn State will likely be angry.
Yes, needing another win. So, but with Indiana basketball, we can start with that.
Yep.
Looked pretty good. I know this was an NAIA team, but I wasn't paying attention to that as much as I was watching Indiana play with each other, the guys, how they played together, and it looked pretty seamless. The rotations looked good. You can tell that they did not lose nearly as much with a quote-unquote second unit on the floor. I think that'll get better even, but you had to be happy with what people had to be happy with what they saw with what they have right now. And that was without Trace Jackson and Tamar Bates.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think you didn't get to see exactly how this team is going to function together. And there were points of intrigue that those two guys being out, I think, kept you from seeing. I mean, because I think Mike Woodson mentioned in the post game that he's been playing Tamar Bates and Trey Galloway together in a backcourt and trying to force those guys into positions where they have to handle the ball more and make decisions than they have. So it sounds like, I mean, and you got to see pieces of this, a little bit of this at Hoosier Hysteria and the less of the Hoosier Hysterics event. But, Tamar Bates is running the one, for the second team, at least a decent amount. Trey Galloway is too. You saw Galloway handle it a little bit. There were, sort of combinations that you didn't get to see. And also I think you didn't see exactly how they're going to use Malik Reino when you have Trace Jackson Davis. But you certainly saw just that there is depth to this group. And I think we've been talking about that for a lot, all season long, or all off season long, but you got to think a better sense of it. I think we can say without really going too far out on a limb that Jalen Hood-Schifino and Malik Renew are the real thing. How exactly great they're going to be right out of the box, who knows? But like Hood-Schifino is ready to be a starter. He looked like he's been there for years. Renew pretty much as well. I mean, Renew, I think, if our stats are correct, and obviously there was a bit of a stat issue on Saturday, but if we got that right, and I think they did, what would he go for 14 and 11? And Marion had no answer for him whatsoever when he got the ball on the block. I mean, just nothing. So first off, there's going to be a ton of front court depth. I mean, they're like, their second line of Renew and Jordan Geronimo, I think is as good as any front court in the Big Ten. And that's their second line. As far as, what they're going to be able to do at the fourth.
And Logan Duncombe showed that he may be able to play too.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I don't know how translatable that's going to be. Obviously, he was getting a lot of those points later, so right. I don't think we're going to be like, yeah, you could just pencil in Logan Duncombe for an 11-11, double-double most
right.
nights. But there was real. I mean, he's a ton better than he was a year ago. I mean, there's moves there that you didn't see before. Toughness there that you didn't see last year. It really seems like he's put the work in. He's an interesting dude, for sure. Just his whole press conference aura I thought was interesting. He definitely got beat up last year, and you could tell. Like, I mean, last year was extremely humbling, I think, just having to deal with Trace every day and just kind of pretty much get the crap kicked out of him. But he grew up a whole lot. I think you don't necessarily look at him and see this muscled up guy, but it's different than you saw a year ago. He's tough. Like he played with a bit of an edge. I thought good footwork, at least decent footwork around the rim, good touch around the rim, was getting after the boards. I mean, it was a lot closer to what we heard he was going to be, from talking to guys at Mueller, basically when his senior year, and even Mark Adams, who was playing for the AAU. If that's their fifth guy in the front court, that's pretty good. That's a good situation they got. And I think they do have some backcourt depth. I mean, you saw, I think CJ Gunn making a couple threes was a big deal. Not a massive deal, but I think it was worth noting on a night where they didn't have a lot of people shoot very well. Race Thompson, I think, hit 3, and obviously that was a big deal. You didn't see a lot of the guards knocking him down, but CJ Gunn showing, hey, you can pull me off the bench to hit a couple, I think was an important thing too.
Yeah, CJ Gunn, I don't know if it was more important for the team or for him in that particular game, because that starts – I mean, he knows that, all right, now I know I can step out and hit these in this environment, which it is huge for this team, because people are still wondering, they're going to be able – they don't need to hit a ton of threes. With the talent they have, this team does not have to hit 12 threes a game.
It doesn't,
have
but
to
it's
be
efficient.
All about,
it's all about
efficiency.
It's efficiency. It's about who hits him, and it's also it's about it's about situations. I mean, I think it is concerning that X looked off, and obviously it's early and it's one game and whatever. But it's all about, okay, what do you force an opponent to do? You don't, as much as it was effective, at least in the one game. I'm trying to remember when he and Finney went off for three. I think it was Minnesota that backed off of them, that played him and Finney at the free throw line, and those guys hit threes and just basically just threw off their entire plan. But you don't want that. You don't want a scenario where they're playing Hood Schifino and Xavier Johnson at the free throw line. You really don't want that. It's important that the point guards hit them. And it's good when Race Thompson hits them, because you want to be able to run guys around, maybe put somebody in a corner, like put your threes and fours, be able to station them on the wings at certain occasions, and let them, go out there and shoot. And it's just, they don't have to hit a massive number. The important thing is they can have a situation where you can jam 4 bodies around the paint, and take away what they want to do. You don't want to have a whole bunch of guys, just being able to collapse on a pick and roll, stuff like that. That's the important thing. They don't need to make a ton. You're right. They don't need to make a ton. But they've got to be getting them from everywhere, I think, is the point. And you don't want to have anybody that you can target and sit back off of.
My thing about Xavier is just don't force too much. And sometimes he wants, or I don't know, if he's the point guard, first of all, my question is, why is he taking 11 shots in the amount of time he played? But I loved watching Jalen Hood-Schifino play so comfortably within a system that he's new to. He looked very, very effortlessly in what he was doing, and able to score, very efficient, 5 of 8 shooting, grabbed some rebounds and had 3 rebounds and 4 assists. Pretty nice stat line. And that is what I like, because it was efficient. It's not, pushing, and that's what you want to see from your elder statesman like Xavier. Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, he's going to, X is going to be a little bit inefficient. Like, it's not going to be perfect, as well as he was playing down the stretch. He's going to get a little bit wild. But when you have he and Hood-Schifino together, and both of those guys can make plays, like you can afford for one or the other of them to be, a little much. You can live with that, I think, without too much of a problem. And they weren't wild, I don't think, either one of them. Again, certainly I thought Hood-Schifino was more under control. But I think, you want both of them to be efficient, but X is still a high risk guy. He's a 5th-year senior. I get it. You want him to play more like he's, the old man on the team, but he's never going to play that way. X is going to take risks. That's just who he is. And you've got to be able to, we want to minimize it to some extent. You want to get him closer to slowing down, but he's not going to be Aaron Kraft or somebody like that. That's just not who he is. He's not going to be the most efficient guy in the world. He's got to play with the head of steam. You can only take so much away from what he is and what he wants to do. He's going to attack on the bounce, and that's what makes him difficult, I think, to deal with. When he's coming downhill and you've got Trace Jackson Davis rolling beside him, that was the most effective thing they did at the end of last year. And if he's not playing with, you don't want to play reckless abandon. There is a point that you want him to shoot for that fits, but aggression is just part of that. And he's just, you can't make him different than who he is. Race Thompson is not going to shoot 75% from 3-point land every game.
You sure, Jim?
But no, I'm not, to be honest with you. But
mechanics look good though, man.
The sheer fact that he can step out and do that kind of comfortably now, that's going to be problematic for other teams if he is able to do that with just any consistency.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think I don't, and I didn't get BTN Plus for this, so I don't have video to go back and rewatch and say exactly what it was that looks.
It's on YouTube.
Good. Okay, then I'll find it. But his operation looks smoother. Just on its face. I mean, I can't tell like what kind of hitches he got rid of, but it seems like he got something. And he looks smooth out there. He looks confident. And I think it's one of those. I mean, Mike Woodson really played the long game with him, where everybody else was like, "Why, Mike? Why on earth are you still doing this experiment where you want Race taking threes?" Because it took him a while to get any level of rhythm with that last year. He ended up 15 or 55, and there were a whole lot of people like, "What? Just it's never going to work. What's the point? You're wasting your time." It's not a waste of time. It apparently is not a waste of time. It matters if you can just keep pushing this guy and giving him opportunities and let him develop confidence. And he spent the offseason obviously working on that. And it seems like one, mechanically, he looked smooth. Two, he looked like he had every right to take it, and he knew it. And that matters. Getting to the point where a guy like Race Thompson feels like, yeah, I deserve to take these threes. I've earned that right over my time. This is not a bad idea, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to hit it. And that, again, that's a game changer. That really matters on spacing. We talked about that a lot last year. There was only so much Thompson was able to do as far as spreading the floor and forcing people to guard him out there. Some people did or whatever, but it wasn't like you could just stick him in the corner and he was going to be a force of gravity that was going to take somebody away. If he hits it like that, anywhere near like that, I mean, if he's at 37, 38 with not a super high number, that's going to force it. That forces a power forward to the corner, and that's a big deal. And that allows a lot more room for operation in the paint.
Absolutely. Hey, we got lots more coming up. Dustin Dopirak from the Bloomington Herald Times is with us. Brought to you by our good friends from Remax Realty. If you're in the Indianapolis area looking for a home, then you need to deal with Cheryl Sizemore, as her 2 decades of experience could be the difference between you getting the home you want or not. Reach out to her, Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. And if you're in the Louisville, Southern Indiana, Floyd, Clark, Harrison, Scott County areas, Barbara Pop Real Estate Services has served that community for 3 decades. Reach out to Barbara at barbarapop.com, or Matt Lincoln, Matt at barbarapop.com. Back with Dustin Dopirak right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore Honda.
I do got a 950 out.
Okay.
Because it's back to Bloomington today.
Back
Tommy Allen.
to Bloomington. Is
that a song? Has anybody ever written?
No, it was.
Did you just make it up off the top of your head? You got your own.
It's another song that I stole the music from. I can't remember what song it is. I'm back.
Back in the New York group.
I tell you what, there might be another coaching change coming to Nebraska.
Football or basketball?
At the top, you mean? Oh,
basketball. They got rocked by Colorado in that exhibition game. I mean, they've can't put too much stock into it, but boy,
they've done nothing, and they've done nothing. He's done nothing at Nebraska. He's done less than Miles did, I think.
Getting rid of Tim Miles was a awful decision, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I get why he was out of gas, I thought. I mean, like I'm trying to remember the specifics, and I
think he did it with as much as he was going to do there.
Yeah, that's the thing. I liked Tim Miles. Like that was one of those cases where and frankly, like this is what Tom Allen I think is in danger of. I mean, there is a scenario where you can be a good football coach and just lose momentum and you're screwed.
Right, that's true.
I think that's an issue of because once it spirals, once you can't get players, you could be great on a whiteboard, you could be great in a recruiting room, you could have all the talent, but once there is the sense out in the world that you're not going to win again, it frankly does not matter how good you are anymore, or whether you're good enough or whatever. You got to. I mean, you can go someplace else and be successful. You have it, but once you're at a place and you have stalled, there's no getting that tractor out of the muck. Like you're just, and so I just, you've seen that with a bunch of guys. Again, doesn't mean they're bad coaches, and it doesn't mean they can't go win someplace else. It's just basically like when you have lost momentum, like when you're pushing the rock up the hill and it's not moving anymore. And I think that's where Tim Miles was. You could have left him there for another 10 years. It wasn't going to get better.
More from Remax Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday. Hope you're getting your week started off right. Hope you had a great weekend. Dustin Dopirak from the Bloomington Herald-Times joining us now. Caleb Nost, a contributor to the Hoosier.com, says he's not concerned about Xavier being off. The college coach told him that taking is as important as making in games like this early in the year. So it goes for basically everybody on the team. And pretty much what Dustin said a minute ago. Just it's the first game. Just, he's too experienced, I guess, to be concerned about it.
Yeah, I mean,
games.
What I would say, like the issue is he is a streaky shooter, historically. Yeah. So I mean, like you obviously, I do not.
Laughing at the comment, someone commented. Fred asked, "Does Dustin have to drive Zach around?" No, he does not. But I had to put that up and chuckle.
Zach is a grown man with a wife and
his own tricycle.
He has
his own tricycle.
Yes, exactly. But
big wheel.
But yeah, I mean, and again, it's not major, but like, I mean, obviously he was streaky in a good way towards the end of last year, and you saw, the mid-range and the three going down, and that made him a lot more dangerous toward the end of last season. And again, he doesn't have to shoot 45, he doesn't have to be lights out, but you need to see him closer to what he was doing the end of last year than beginnings in previous seasons. But again, like. One, just to make this clear, it's good to have him on the floor, regardless. Even if he gets to the point where he's not making any outside shots, he's still valuable. So it's just what he does off the bounce, what he does on defense. So I'm not trying to like at all argue that like X should be somehow buried. No, he's a big deal. He's important. But he's a lot better. He's a lot better if you get X, who's a three level scorer, versus X, who's just only chance of getting the bucket is getting the rim. That's
I wonder. Will they eventually switch Jalen Hood to the 1 and Xavier to the 2? I mean, I know that.
Yeah,
and I see that, and I know that they're interchangeable. It's kind of why I said that. And then you follow that up with the fact that Woody has already said, "I don't have a 3. I've got basketball players."
That was a dodge, man. That was a dodge.
Yeah,
it was a dodge. I want to hit on both of those points real fast because I got to hit the road. But so first, as far it seemed to me, and when we talked to them at Media Day about it, like, all right, how does this work together? With you guys are obviously both point guards, and it sure sounds like they want to play you both. How's that go? And I asked X specifically, how do you like playing off the ball? He said, I love it. He's like, he's like, people don't realize I did play more too than you think, in AAU ball and even in high school, because I mean, you think of them as just this just ball dominant guy, as he's been his entire college career. And he played plenty of 1 in high school. Like it wasn't obviously a shock to the system for him to be running the point. But he's, like, I mean, they got guards out in DC, they got plenty of them. And he's been on some teams, and I know at least going back to his, I want to say his sophomore year at Paul VI, like he told me a story, and his parents, even his dad told me a story basically that his coach at Paul VI was Morgan Wooten's son. Told him going into his sophomore year, like, hey, just so you know, like we've got a point guard here, and there's a lot I want you to work on, so you might be on JV in sophomore year. And like, his dad was like, okay, well, do you want to transfer? Because that's how it works out there. And he was like, no, I want to stick around. And he busted his butt and he made the team. But obviously there was, I think, a senior point guard, so he had to get some minutes elsewhere. And he's comfortable running and chasing his shot. and basically moving off the ball more than I realized he was. And I thought he looked pretty comfortable with that on Saturday. Didn't seem to have a problem of, okay, Jalen's got the ball, I'm going to run around off screens, and you just go find a way to make some space moving without the ball. So he seemed comfortable there, and I think both of those guys are going to be okay. I think Coach Fino's obviously got plenty of experience himself as a 2. I think he really became a 1 really sort of later in his career also. So I think both of those guys have enough shooting guard experience, enough moving without the ball experience, that they're not just going to sit there and be like, pass the ball back and forth to each other and not know what to do with themselves.
Well, it should actually make this team more dangerous. Dustin, having it's like an interchangeable. It does make Indiana a little more positionless. I hate to use that term, but it does.
At the 1 and the 2, it definitely does. And I like the term, and but there's a reason I want to get into that in particular. I think. So, those guys are going to be fine, and that's going to be a good combination. And I think I don't know. I am interested where Tamar Bates is, because everybody, has just talked about how great of an offseason he has. I think you can play him at the 3, and I don't think it's a problem. I think you could run all 3 of those together, and I don't think it's one bit of an issue. You could use him as your second team lead guard if you want to, if you're going to play that much second team. And maybe he's a super sub, and maybe that's the best way. But I don't see a problem with having X, Hood-Schifino, and Bates on the floor together as it stands.
Oh no,
as long as you're not facing a massive 3. So, but to the point about positionless, and like, yes, that's what basketball is becoming on a grand scale. But there are still, there is still a sharing of responsibilities, and you can only have so many similar body types. And I think we obviously have seen that you need 3 guys at least who can operate primarily on the perimeter. You can't have 3 guys that are functioning out of the post. Like that, the game's not spaced that way anymore. And even like your 4 is practically a 3. Like your 5 can be a true post guy, but your 4 is what a 3 used to be, and your 3 is what a 2 used to be, and you've got 3 of them out there. Basically, like the most sort of interchangeable position in college basketball and even the NBA are the 2 and the 3 at this point. It's basically,
and if you're playing a team that is kind of stacked that way, you should have an advantage, on quickness, on shooting, on a lot of things.
Right.
I know
the reason Mike was asked about the 3, and the reason he just took it into positionless basketball was the question was, can Jordan Geronimo handle the 3? Yeah. The question was, can Jordan Geronimo handle the 3? And what that question really isn't just, tell me about positions and explain to me the positions are rigid. The point is, and what we've been talking about him all offseason is, can he handle the ball on the perimeter, and can he guard guards on the perimeter for an extended period of time? Like not just on a switch. Can you put Jordan Geronimo out on the perimeter and have him guard a 6'4", 6'5" guy who can cross him up and stay with him?
I think that his defense should be okay. I think that his offense, you're giving up a little bit there. But I thought that until the other night, and he showed that was great to see him hit a 3 and show his abilities to get to the bucket.
Yeah. No, exactly. Back-to-back possessions, one big sequence where you're like, okay, that's what Jordan Geronimo has been doing. It's just a question of consistency. And because it's, the idea of straight line drives versus really being able to break somebody down. And when you're at the 3 at this stage, you've got to be able to cross somebody up. You've got to be able to change direction, with the basketball in your hand. And so you saw a little bit of that, I think, on that move. There was some wiggle there. And that's the big question is, does he have that? That's what we're asking. And it's not like tell me that everything is just rigid and every position has this very defined set of responsibilities. It doesn't at this stage, but it's still, you have to be a guy who can do that. And, again, Geronimo is a very, very good defensive player on the whole, but everything we've seen is his body really fits the modern day 4, but you got to find a way to get minutes for him. If Race Thompson is still going to play as much as he seems he is, Jordan Geronimo is just way too much of a talent to not be on the floor with Race at some point. And it's the question of, can you put him on the floor together with Thompson and Jackson Davis, and he can still do the responsibilities required of modern day 3. And, because again, it's closer to a shooting guard, now in terms of what you're seeing. And so you saw a little bit of it you need to see, I think, some more that really prove to you that you can leave him out there for 5-10 minute stretches. Again, that you can trust him to handle the basketball, that he's not going to turn it over. Again, I think he's better. He's been working on it a lot, and that's really what we were asking for, is give us a progress report. And Geronimo has. When we've asked him about that, he's been very honest about, this is where I think I'm getting better. This is where I was at the end of last year. This is where I think I am now. So they're not ducking it as a program. Geronimo's being, I think, very, very honest in his production, his development and whatnot. But I think I can't remember who asked the question, but whoever it was really asking for more of a progress report on Jordan and how far he's coming. And Mike ducked it. But that doesn't mean he's bad. That doesn't mean he's not making progress. Mike just ducked that particular question.
Well, he's got a lot more talent in front of him this year than he did last year, and a lot more
Around
talent,
him,
I think. But you got to get going, brother.
I do.
Yes, sir. The presser for Tom Allen starting, and luckily it got him out of having to talk about football this week. So he got an easy break on that, which there's not a lot to talk, to be honest with you. Football coming up this week as Indiana will host Penn State, who coming off of they played Ohio State tougher than people expected. It was a 44-31 game. Yep. I forget what was the spread in that game.
It was 15.5, I think, in favor of Ohio State, obviously. And Penn State was winning that game, I think, going into the fourth quarter. It was a 3-point game heading into the fourth quarter. That was
Indiana's been leading. Indiana's been leading Ohio State going into the fourth quarter and lost by 3 touchdowns. So
that's true. That is not. I guess that doesn't prove a point. But But
look how close Vegas was again.
Yeah, I know. I was at the cocktail party on Saturday, Florida, Georgia.
And by that, folks, he means the Florida Georgia game, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Still playing in Jacksonville. They're trying to move it though.
They are.
Kirby Smart, was it Kirby Smart trying to move this to campuses after how long has it been played in Jacksonville? 60, 90?
1933 or something like that.
Okay, that's just crazy. Why change this now?
It's very much a John Calipari type of move.
Then horse crap. If it's a coach thing, then horse crap.
From what I understand, it's a 3 parties want it to stay in Jacksonville, and then there's one guy who wants it to be moved. So that's just my understanding. I hope
that you take a four-person vote then.
The point I was getting at with that was the spread was 22.5, and Georgia won 42-20. Right on the money. I don't know what the over/under was.
These guys they're amazing. They truly are.
If you want to look at something positive for the Indiana football team, I'm not even making this up. Indiana beating Illinois might be the biggest upset in college football this year.
Bigger than App State.
Texas A&M's 3-5.
Yeah, that's why I stopped. I'm like, Illinois has gone up, and Texas A&M is just wow. What do you do if you're Texas A&M and you're paying that kind of money? I mean, and they have the #1 recruiting class coming.
Yes, not just this year, but in the history of college, in the history of rankings, in the history of.
But see, that doesn't mean you're good now.
No.
So. Maybe there's an issue, obviously, that there was a gap. How long's he been there, though?
Oh, gosh, you would ask.
See, that shouldn't...
It's year 5 or 6, I think.
Oh, my God. Then that's a problem.
It's
that's a problem.
I got to look it up because I want to be factually accurate there. But I think this is year 5 or 6 for him because he left Florida State in 18, 19, 20, 21. Yeah, this is year 5. And they have not done. I mean, they've been good, but he's not gotten to the college football playoff. They've not been even to an SEC championship game. 9-4, 8-5, 9-1 in 2020, 8-4 last year. Right now, 3-5. So it's not like he's bad. They just have not.
Well, yeah, but see, Bo Pelini wasn't bad either.
Right. Exactly.
And now, as a matter of fact, Bo Pelini was better than this.
Yes. He was way better.
Caleb Nost, again, contributor to the Hoosier.com, says as someone who lived in Athens, he doesn't think that town could survive Florida coming to town.
I don't think either town could, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, just leave it. You leave it.
Makes a whole weekend for everybody. It's a lot of fun.
We need to get Caleb on, get his thoughts on the exhibition, although it was just an exhibition. But how about Louisville? We haven't talked about this. Louisville losing to Lenore Rhine, a D2 team out of North Carolina. Where was that final score? I don't even have the final score, I don't think. It doesn't even matter what the
47.
Okay. So there it is. I do have it right there. Thank you, though, John. It didn't even matter what the score was. The fact that you lose to at home to a D2 team who was brought in just for you to practice against.
This feels
that's bad.
This feels
but
like
that's not on Kenny Payne. That shows you that's what happens. That's just like when the debacle with Kelvin Sampson and Tom Crean inherited that mess. I mean, you talk about inheriting an effing mess.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
the good thing is, though, for Kenny Payne, is this is a different day and time. You can fix things quickly with portal, but Louisville has got issues. Louisville is still waiting for the hammer to drop from the NCAA in regards to their cheating issues, their rules breaking issues of multitudes of getting caught committing major violations while on probation for committing major violations. Now, the NCAA has lost a bunch of its teeth. They've had their teeth pulled and they're afraid to do anything. I think they're afraid to make schools mad now. I don't know that. What are they going to do? John, is it time to take a break? Maybe not.
I said yes.
Oh, my apologies. We'll talk about this more later, but what's in the NCAA going to do? It's been so long, so
and
now you're going to punish guys that were in freaking high school.
Right. There's new players. Basically, everybody from the staff is gone. In the athletic department. It doesn't make any sense. Plus, I mean, Louisville's already kind of paying the consequence right now. This is basically what Tom Crean inherited when he went to Indiana to start. I mean, they have got to start completely from scratch. You're right with the transfer portal, with the way recruiting is, the way guys come in and can make a huge difference right out of the gate. I agree with you. It is going to be easier, but man, it just shows what kind of hand he was dealt, and it's gonna take a while, I think.
Lenore Rhine was 8-18 last season, and their top two guys didn't play.
Wow.
I'm sorry, it's just funny. Hey, we got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat. We'll stay with us. Brought to you by our good friends at Metalworks Brewing Company, a part of the WOW Club. Make sure you go to your Apple app or Google Play Store. Start earning WOW rewards today. Metalworks, located right off the square in Bloomington, catty corner to Cabello Restaurant. So, and you can also get Metalworks Brewing products at all of the WOW Endeavor restaurants. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Hey, this is
Hey, Dustin, are you going to head out this segment?
Yeah, I'm going to head out this segment. And I will see you.
Kiss my aspirin bottle.
I will kiss your aspirin bottle. Have a happy Halloween, everybody. Take Don some stickers.
Oh, you know what? I do need to remember that.
I will.
And Jim, I've got two clips for you since you'll be, without Dustin. They're both of your questions. The one for Mike and the one for Logan Duncombe.
Mike, I asked him about the two freshmen.
Yep.
What do you? Oh, Dustin's gone.
Yeah, he took off.
We should have dressed up today, but that's just not me. You should have dressed up.
The plan was to, and then by the time I was going to order a costume, which I was going to do, I was going to be a Top Gun pilot, but And I was going to do the whole like mustache thing and the new Miles Teller mustache. But by the time I tried to order it, it wasn't going to show up on time. So
I wanted to just get a Harry Carey mask, a Muhammad Ali mask, and somebody else's mask, and just do the show. Hello, everybody. Harry Carey. Welcome to.
Gosh, imagine trying to sound like Harry Carey for 2 hours.
India Sports Beat Radio. Hey, pass me another Budweiser.
Man, what if Louisville has a Indiana Tom Crean year one type of season where they only win 5 or 6 games?
I don't know that it'll be that bad because their schedule is not as tough as Indiana's was then. But
that's fair.
But it could be a losing season without question.
It more than likely will be, I would think.
Doug, my man, down in Australia.
The Australian. Is he in Sydney? Is he in Melbourne? Is he in Perth? Where's he at?
Yes, he was, Doug.
He also is a former UK assistant.
Yes, he is that as well.
All right, here we go.
Good to see you, Doug. Down 10 a.m. with 1 week in advance tea time bookings. You just cover your card fees. Now, there is a limited number of memberships available, so go to eaglepoint.com right now and get yours today.
This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. It is Monday. I hope you had a great weekend. And we can get your week off to a good start. You know, it was a fun weekend, actually. Watched some good football. Baseball. Let's see, what happened last night? I didn't see the finish. Philadelphia was losing 5-0 when I checked in, and Schwarbs was on second base and had just gotten moved over. I'm assuming Philadelphia lost, and that series is now tied 1-1. I'll let someone correct me if I'm incorrect. Tell you something else I checked into over the weekend, which doesn't mean a lot to you guys, but it makes us proud as all get out. You know, we're on radio, of course. It's a radio show. Our good, we love our peeps down at listening on the Ref, WREF, 97.7 ESPN in Evansville, WBRO in Marengo. But also, obviously, people listen wherever you podcast. About 85% are on Apple, I noticed, Spotify, and then, of course, YouTube. But looking through the analytics, we are listened to or watched in 42 states, in 21 countries on 5 continents. That is just mind-boggling, people. And I cannot thank you guys enough. It is awesome. But fans everywhere. But we appreciate you guys so much, and really, really just want to thank you. Let us know what you want to see more of, by the way. We're pretty flexible. Did not do a post-game show over the weekend. I don't see really the need to do that for exhibition games. You're not going to see a lot. Talk about it today or the next one coming up on, when is that, Thursday? John, when did I say that was? November 3rd, right?
Yeah, I believe it's Thursday.
November 3rd, because that would be Thursday. Yeah, today is the 31st. Happy Halloween. Who's going trick-or-treating tonight?
What is the age limit for trick-or-treating?
Man, that's a great question, because we used to get asked that when I was a kid. And it was kind of like, I don't know, 15. If you're old enough to drive, you damn sure should not be trick-or-treating.
There you go.
And 15 is kind of getting up there because it's mostly a kid's thing.
You're also in high school at that point, too. So that's kind of a good cutoff once you get into high school.
Yeah, I'm thinking more like 14 maybe. But, you know, I'm not going to yell at a 15-year-old kid for trick-or-treating. I mean, anybody can trick-or-treat. It's an American tradition. I would have more fun once I got older of being devious. We would like to make dummies, people dummies, throw them out in the road and leave them for people driving by. Or the best one was to hang one from a tree by a rope and then have enough where you could let it drop when a car was driving by. But my old favorite, and I never got to participate with Scotty D. He's not listening, an old friend of mine from home, but he always did what he called the purse trick. Loved it. He would tie a purse to a fishing line and put it out in the road, put a big old purse out in the road. And car would pull by, stop, go to pick that purse up, and he'd start reeling that purse in. And they'd go to grab it again, and he'd start reeling it in again. And of course, they knew that they'd been had by then. But you got to make up your own fun when you live out in the country.
Oh yeah,
Forrest, he paid the $10 for Big Ten Plus. He cannot forget to cancel.
That's the thing. That's what Big Ten Network hopes Indiana fans will do.
Well, you
obviously
know what?
buy it for the exhibition matchups and then the first game, and maybe
Forrest,
forget
I'll ask
after
you
that.
this. I hope you have a subscription to thehoosier.com because it's less than that. And they have a special coming, speaking of which, 50% off. It's going to be running a week from tomorrow. So 50% off promo coming to thehoosier.com. That's incredible. And I definitely hope you guys will hit that up because that is how Keegan and Kyler and Alec Lasley and those guys are able to bring you all these stories and information and travel to the games and get the interviews. You know, that stuff's not free, man. It takes a village. Tanner said he used to burn corn stalks out on the gravel country roads. Yep. Mike says there's no age limit to trick-or-treating. I'm good with that. If you're going to dress up like hey, why not?
He also says inflation has him needing to find other ways to get candy. He's got to get that free candy. Go door to door.
There you go.
Instead of
Wyatt said the home plate umpire for game 2 called a perfect game. Called 129 of 129 taken pitches correctly. I thought he meant outs or balls. No, that's that. Now, see, that's pretty cool, actually, because there's hardly a game because they have the box up. There's hardly a game that I don't see a strike call that was like, it was just out, or that was a strike. So Doug Dork from Australia said, "Hey gents, how many minutes did Renew actually play?" Yeah, the minutes are all screwed up. I don't know what happened to the statistics. I will say this. I believe, I don't know how much he played in the first half. I know he went out when he was injured and just didn't return. Was that just into the second half? Because I know that with 15 minutes to go in the game, he already had a double-double and did not play from that point forward. So let's just say he played 15 to 20 minutes. But yeah, the stats were all screwed up. I don't know what happened if they have a new stat crew, but we'll have to check that out. Ross says the World Series was Saturday and then again tonight. What was I watching? A replay? So it's still 1-0. That can't be right, is it?
Let's take a look.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, with the World Series, I wish it's something that I could, or in Major League Baseball in general, it's something that I wish that I could
anyway,
get
hey, we
into.
got to forget. I don't want to forget. I got a couple of clips to play from Mike Woodson.
I have what were we looking for real quick, and we can get into that. What was Ross saying?
I was just asking about the World Series. I thought there had been 2 games played, but I guess
we're in Game 3.
Okay, it's 1-1.
1-1. Yep.
Yeah. The World Series was actually Friday night, wasn't it?
No, I don't have the dates, so I don't know.
I think it was
series.
I can't remember. I think it was Friday, and then again, and where Philadelphia won the first game, and Houston has tied that series at 1 game apiece. I believe. We spoke to Mike Woodson, of course, after the game. He was in a great mood. I asked him about, as a former player, he knows the difficulties of being a freshman, playing in your first game ever at Simon Scott Assembly Hall, and which was exactly what Malik Renew and Jalen Hood-Schifino were doing, in addition to CJ Gunn and Caleb Banks. CJ Gunn hit 2 or 3 3-pointers. So basically, 3 of the 4 freshmen, great nights. If you want to be honest with you, CJ Gunn did as much as you'd want him to do. He did not press. He did not play outside of himself. So you have to be happy with what you saw from CJ. And then, of course, Malik Renew and Jalen Hood-Schifino, the 2 leading scorers of the game. So you absolutely, a little surprising. But I asked Mike, I said, but, with the pressure of being a freshman, you know how difficult it is, that he had to be surprised and proud to see those 2 guys be the leading scorers of this game. And of course, he agrees, but made it make sure it's a team effort. Let's hear what Mike had to say.
No, it is impressive again, but a lot of that is the fact that they're so in tune in what we're doing, and that's valuable, man. In terms of building a winning team, everybody's got to be on board, and it can't be just about Jalen or about Malik. This is a team, man, and I'm trying to push these guys along with my staff to do all the necessary things on and off the court to help us win basketball games.
Something that really stood out, though, those 2 guys combined shooting, they were 12 of 18. That's pretty good. 70% shooting for Malik Renew. What's 5 of 8 shooting? 60%, thereabouts. So, they average 65% shooting. When you're adding a guard into that, that's huge. Yeah, that's nice to get that. I also, we were able to speak to Logan Duncombe, who they sent Logan Duncombe and Jordan Geronimo in for the post-game presser. Logan, who in a backup role, and we've heard a lot of talk about him this year from some of his teammates, that he's much improved. Ended up with a double-double, which anytime you get a double-double, it's impressive. 11 and 11. He was 5 of 8 from shooting, again, roughly 60%. 1 or 2 at the free throw line, but 11 rebounds. Means he's active. He's busy. He's getting in there and getting after it. That's huge to me. Malik Renew, both also 11 rebounds, 22 rebounds. Indiana had 48 as a team. 22 of those came from those 2 guys, which is great to see. Brace Thompson added 6 rebounds along with the 13 points, and he's shooting from the perimeter. Now that is a dangerous player right there. When you've got a guy that can step out, step in, that is what's going to make Indiana dangerous. And we have not even interjected Trace Jackson Davis yet. So now how are these guys all going to be able to play together? That's going to be the trick, of course. Last year, Mike didn't have that second unit. He just didn't. Trey Galloway wasn't ready. He didn't have some pieces that were playing in concert. Now I think he does. I truly do. Trey Galloway is ready. I think he is much more in tune to what he's doing, and it's going to be fun to watch. But let's hear what Logan Duncombe had to say about his night.
I mean, I don't know. It's just like, being able to go out there and play minutes in a real game, it makes you more comfortable for, games ahead. So, like, feel better about where my game is at right now. But, yeah, play or not, all the guys I think are just, you do what you can, You do what you can with the minutes you're given and do what the coaches ask you to.
That was Logan Duncombe. I asked him about, getting those minutes, and everybody keeps saying the same thing. When you get minutes, perform. And it's true, because right now that's let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 guys played, and you had 2 guys out. So let's take the walk-on Childress off of the deal. So all scholarship players played except for the 2 guys that were out. That rotation eventually is going to be down to 10 people. So 3 of these guys are not going to see much time. Right now, guessing that's going to be Caleb Banks, Anthony Leal, and it's that other guy. That's going to be tough. I don't know. I think this is going to be down to a 10-man rotation. We got to take a quick break before we finish out here. Lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our friends at Cabello Restaurant. Get the taste and traditions of Southern Italy right here in Southern Indiana, located on the north side of the square in the former Grazi location. A part of the WOW Club, Endeavor Hospitality. Go to your Apple app or Google Play Store. Sign up, start earning WOW rewards today. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting...
I think that third guy will be Duncombe, not because of performance ability, but just because you have Trace and Malik kind of 1 and 2 in that position. But
then you've got Race Thompson.
Race plays more of a 4, though.
Yeah, you're not going to be they're not going to have 3 5s playing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if Duncombe will. I mean, who else?
I get you. I misunderstood.
There you go.
Yeah, you think Duncombe will be the guy out?
Yeah.
He almost has to be.
Yeah, but just by default. But he's a good. He'll be like that Michael Durr option this year.
Michael Durr was Michael Durr was the second unit.
I guess you're right. He wasn't he?
Because you already had Trace and Race on the floor, and then Durr would come in. Now, there's nothing to say that they can't play Duncombe and Malik together, because
I think you'll see 11 guys. I think the other. I don't know. I don't know how many guys you play, to be honest.
Duncombe can be a Race Thompson type player. He just does not have nearly the meat on his body that he's going to need to play inside like that. And that's the thing.
Did Banks
Malik
score
does already?
Caleb Banks?
He did not. He was the only scholarship player not to score, and he was 0 for 3. He attempted 2 3-pointers and a 2-point field goal.
So he'll be the one who needs to develop.
I didn't see a lot from him. So, yeah, he definitely is going to be on the outside. Anthony Leal, Did not even enter the game until late, which
that's surprising.
That told me a lot. Well, he did just come off of wearing a boot.
Okay. All right, here we go.
TheHoosier.com is where you can find complete coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and plenty more. Simply go to TheHoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also find full episodes of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on the homepage or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. Happy Halloweeny. Jim Coyle with you here on this Halloween, October 31st, Monday. Appreciate everybody on the program today. Don Fischer, of course, was with us earlier. Dustin Dopirak from the Bloomington Herald Times. Dustin Schutte, always with us as our co-host from Outsider.com. He had to step off early. Doug says 11 is the number. Woody's already said it. That's just a lot of that's just a lot of guys. Doug's asking who said it had to be 10. It's not that it has to be anything. It's there are only so many minutes to play, number one. Number two, if someone's on roll or guys are rolling, you're not going to end that. Of course, I know there's probably certain minutes that they want their guys playing for rest and others, but Forrest says he hopes they redshirt Logan. I don't see that happening. Redshirting is almost a thing of the past. Robert says the rotation will shrink. Most teams usually go with only 8, 9. Yeah, I'm thinking this is going to be 10 deep. Chris says, I think he would rather replace Kopp with Geronimo and just sit him with Banks and Leal. Leal would be the 11th guy. Why are you going to sit Kopp? You're not going to, no one's going to sit a senior that's starter. That's not happening. And why Geronimo? I mean, he has not shown me he's ready to be a starter yet. And his youth, that's something Woody has shown he likes experience out there. Last year, it may not have been the best thing always because the experience didn't always match to the talent, but I think this is going to be a different season for that. The experience and the talent are much more aligned than they were previously. Mike says you'll see 10 to 11 during pre-conference, and then once it starts, go down to 8 or 9. I think you're going to see 13 in pre-conference. I think they're all going to play during these you'll see all of them, or whoever's available, all scholarship players that are available against St. Francis, you're going to see. I think that you're going to see every scholarship player in the first couple of games. This is football, rather. My bad. But because for two things, what he's still seeing, well, who's doing this in the game? You can watch it in practice, and that's one thing. It's a lot more. Guys get a lot more comfortable. It's different. But seeing it in game situations will give Woody a much better gauge of who can do what, who will do what, who's willing to do what. Australian Doug says situation game is going to dictate then. Yep. But 11, we'll see. I don't think that you're going to see 11 players. That's just too many. That means you're taking minutes away from guys that probably need to be on the floor, that you want on the floor. You want Trace Jackson Davis to have his rest, but you also want him on the floor producing. The same with Race Thompson, Jalen Hood-Schifino, all the starters. The only reason they're not going to be on the floor, 2 reasons: rest or fouls. It's that simple. And especially in the beginning of the yeah, and at the non-con portion, yeah, I agree. You're going to see probably up to 13. I don't know how deep that will obviously just happen as long as they're playing that cupcake portion of the schedule, I guess you'd say. It does happen. Caleb No says, have some patience with Kopp. This team is much better, fit statistically, stylistically for him rather than last year. And I agree with that. It's year 2 of getting to know his coach. I agree. I've said many times, I think Miller Kopp is going to be much better this year. I think he's going to be much more relaxed. Wyatt says he doesn't get the hate for Kopp. Sure, he didn't shoot great last season, but he is just one of those guys that is valuable for the team. He hopes he does shoot a little bit better. Everyone does. And I think that he will, but if he doesn't, then I think Woody just needs to take him out. I'm not saying he won't. At the same time, he also needs to be producing when he is out there. He did not do a lot in the exhibition game. Like I said, he was one of the starters, but he scored 5 points on 2 of 2 shooting. So efficient, that's for certain, without question. And he hit the only 3-pointer that he took. So there's that. Doug says Knight did situational basketball with the 93 team. Fred, Kansas and Arizona are good to have. Just hope they get to play both St. Mary's and St. Peter's somewhere down the road. Yeah, St. Mary's is way out there. Who knows? Tim says you can see the chemistry between Jalen Hood-Schifino and Malik Renew. Well, yeah, but I saw good chemistry, period, on this team. That was the thing. They just looked comfortable together. And it looked like that pretty much right off the bat, I think. Again, you're playing against an NAIA team, but that doesn't matter because that doesn't control how you are with your own team. And so we'll get to see him again, like I said, on Thursday. And not long after that, it's on. As Morehead State is here on the 7th. So what is that, a week? Yeah, 1 week from today, the real schedule starts. 7 p.m. game. So, yeah, I don't see Lenore Ryan on here, so Indiana doesn't have to worry about that, John. Although Bethune-Cookman is on the schedule, I believe they are a North Carolina team, aren't they?
I think Bethune-Cookman's in Florida.
Is it? Okay. But now here's the thing. 3 games into the season, Indiana is going to be tested because they will not only play Xavier, but they will play at Xavier. That's the 3rd game of the season.
Fun fact, Vanderbilt demolished Xavier in an exhibition game this weekend.
Really?
And also, we've talked about this before, but it is the return of Sean Miller to Xavier.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, the brother of Archie Miller. So that'll be
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So Indiana will have 6 games before hosting the number 1 North Carolina Tar Heels. Man, Assembly Hall will just be absolutely nuts. It's a month away. That game's a month away.
Do you think Indiana will pull off the whiteout successfully?
Oh, I forgot that they were doing that.
And a lot of people aren't happy about it either.
Well, it was like, why not do a red out? But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how many of the old people wear red stuff. It'd be interesting to see how they get into it. Now, unfortunately, for people like me, that's going to make us stick out like sore thumbs, members of the media, because we'll be wearing whatever. I generally always try to wear neutral colors. So yeah, that's going to be funny. We'll have to see about that. Man, we're about done, huh? Oh no, we still got
about 5 minutes.
Mike says he agrees, Jim, with me. Kopp needs to produce or he needs to sit. Well, he's not going to sit that much. He has too much experience. Yeah, he didn't produce last year, but I think there was a lot more to it than just not producing. That team didn't have the chemistry. They didn't have the two guard they needed. It was just not in sync. They were not in sync with their first unit. So things got worse with the second unit. Now I see a team that looks like they're in sync, not just a first unit. And again, we haven't even seen some guys out there, but to see that chemistry, that was the most impressive thing to me. That is what I thought gave me the best opinion of what this team has right now. I'm like, okay, that's impressive. And like I said, they were efficient with what they did. They didn't, for the most part, no one pushed. I mean, forced things. Again, look at these number of shots. Logan Duncombe, 5 of 8. Very efficient. Not too many. Hood Schifino, 5 of 8. Renew, 7 of 10. Kopp, 2 of 2. Geronimo, 2 of 5. Thompson, 4 of 6. Galloway, 2 of 2. Anthony Leal, 1 of 1. Caleb Banks, 0 for 3. Freshman, give him that. And Xavier was the only one that was just off the mark at 2 for 11. But everybody else was so efficient. That just furthers my belief of chemistry. Doesn't mean I know jack of what I'm talking about, but that it was palpable. If you were there, I saw it. I could see it quickly. And that is just nothing but a positive thing, especially when it's this soon. You know, first game out, usually that's when you're playing against somebody else, even it doesn't matter if they're more talented than you. It's still somebody else. They're not going to do what you want. They're not going to line up where you want them to. So it was just good to see that. Doug says the 92-93 Hoosiers had 8, produced 20 minutes a game. 2 players averaged 7 minutes. So 10 Big Ten play is max. Exactly. It's pretty much what I said, Doug. Thanks for backing that up. Yes, you're right, Pastor Man. You know what? As a team, Indiana shot 51%, 52% for the game. If you took Xavier's numbers off of that, that just jacks that up immensely. The 3-point shooting, that was 42%, 8 of 19. If they could do that, this team is going to be, holy crap. They're going to be, now the free throws, they only shot 9. They were 6 of 9, 67%. So 70%, that's okay. But hey, it was an exhibition game, but I liked what I saw. I liked what I saw from the team. I liked what I saw from the cohesiveness, like I said. But we got plenty more time to talk about that as the week will go on. Another exhibition game coming up on Thursday. Don't forget to check out Don Fischer tonight inside Indiana basketball with Mike Woodson at Southern Stone Restaurant. I will be there. We've got to head out to the press conference now. Hope you guys have a great day. I cannot thank everybody enough. Dustin Schutte, of course, for always co-hosting. Don Fischer, the voice of the Hoosiers. Dustin Dopirak from the Bloomington Herald-Times. John, the producer. Most importantly, thanks to you guys. Without you, we've got no reason to be here, and we thank you so much. We're back to do it again tomorrow, and we'll be looking forward to doing that. Until then, make sure you go out and have yourselves a great day. I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.